One.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome to our weekly Rushmoor, Aldershot and Farnborough Labour Councillors online surgery. My name is Keith Dibble. I'm leader of Rushmoor Labour Group and councillor for Northtown. On today's agenda, we want to give you an update on the school survey, run through some very local ward issues. So please feel free to comment or question at any time on any issue that's of concern. We'll have an update on the local COVID response, some news on Aldershot Football Club. We'll then spend a few minutes talking about potholes and how to report potholes. Here's some feedback on Stagecoach, and then finish as we always do with our online entertainment update. But first of all, we just have a quick run round to let you know who's on the call. So let's start with Aldershot Park, which councillors are online.
Okay, Terry Britton here, Aldershot Park. I'm online.
Good morning, Sophie Porter. Unfortunately, I'm not on video call, just on telephone today.
Okay, and I think Councillor Roberts is on other activities, I guess, today. Or is he with us? No. Okay, let's move on then to Cherrywood.
My name's Ashley. I'm a councillor for Cherrywood.
It's Clive Grattan for Cherrywood Ward.
Christine Guinness, Cherrywood Ward.
And Northtown.
Hi, I'm Gaynor Austin, councillor for Northtown.
And myself, Keith Dibble, councillor for Northtown and Wellington Ward. Councillor Martin, I think, is on mute at the moment. So.
Good morning. Nadia Martin for Wellington Ward.
Okay, thank you, everyone, and welcome to the residents who have also joined us. First, we'd like to thank everyone who has responded to the online school survey organised and conducted by Councillor Gaynor Austin and Councillor Alec Crawford. It's been a huge response, and I'd like to ask Councillor Austin to update us on how that's developed and what actions she, on behalf of the group, has been taking.
Hi, yes, it's been amazing actually, the amount of interest. We've had over 1,500 responses so far, people that have completed the survey. Out of those, the key points are that almost 90% of the people who filled this in believe that primary school children can't be expected to maintain social distancing at school. Almost 80% don't believe it's safe for schools to reopen on the 1st of June, which is very significant. And around 70% of parents who have children in those years groups expected to return at the moment would not be happy to send their child or their children back to school at the start of next month. I think that this shows really the dilemma that parents are facing, the struggle to whether to send their children back or not. I believe that more information is coming out on this. Apparently there's been a meeting with teachers, representatives and the SAGE scientific group, which we should be getting more information on soon. I looked at actually a report from SAGE, Independent SAGE, which is an independent group of scientists, doctors and so on, who are looking at this, and they have reported, they actually say that school openings should be guided by low levels of COVID-19 infections in the community and the ability to rapidly respond to new infection through a local test, track and isolate strategy. They say that there is no clear evidence that these conditions are met, and until they are, it's not safe to open schools on June the 1st. With regards to this, our rate of infection in Rushmoor is very high. We're 25th highest out of 300 districts in England. So with a rate of 393.1 per 100,000 of the population, whereas the England average is 263.9 per 100,000. So we can see that's the latest figures from the ONS on the 21st of May. So we can see from that that we do still have a very high infection rate in Rushmoor, which I think needs to be taken into consideration. I have written both to the Secretary of State for Education and also to the Cabinet member on Hampshire County Council, who has responsibility for education in schools, with questions about this. I'd like to make sure that no pressure is put on schools to reopen on the 1st of June if they're ready, because this really needs to be on a school by school basis. Every school is different, both physically, in terms of staffing, in terms of children, and each school needs to be looked at with all the stakeholders involved. That includes staff representatives, it includes parents, as well as head teachers and governors, of course. So I'm awaiting back for those questions, answers to those questions, and also whether Hampshire are going to look at provision outside of schools, which actually can do an awful lot to address the problems with those children who are more vulnerable, and I'll make sure that parents are being given a real choice, and that children's pastoral care, access to food, as well as one-to-one face-to-face lessons is taken into account. The independent stage group do suggest, one of the suggestions we make is, as independent schools and sports facilities are not being used at the moment and won't be used, certainly in the case of independent schools, over the summer, can those spaces, indoor and outdoor, be used to provide facilities for the children who are going to suffer the most in this, and provide space for lessons?
Thanks, Gan. When you sent the original letter a week ago, did you get any acknowledgement or response when you told people the great we were doing the survey? Did you get any acknowledgement?
No.
Sorry, excuse me. No,
that was sent to the Secretary of State, but also to our local MP here, Leo Doherty, and there was no response.
well, I think MP, but whether he's local is a second question. But that's good. Any questions to Gaynor on that? Who's done some excellent work on this? Is anyone on the? I know we've got a couple of parents or school governors on the line. What's the view from? Any feedback from those schools? Christine, I know I think, are you a parent and a governor, or just, are you both?
No, I'm a school chair,
Chair.
for preschool. Yeah, we're still sticking at the moment from our preschool point of view to just looking after our key children, and there's no way I'm prepared to put the children and preschool staff at risk. So until the rate comes down, we will stick to what we've been doing the whole time. And when we feel it's safe, then we'll start introducing the rest of the children back in. And certainly for my own children, I've replied to Fernhill, because I have one in year 10. I've replied to them and said that no, she won't be returning. My younger one, she's in year 2, so I haven't been asked yet about her. But certainly, again, unless the rate comes down, neither of them will be going back till it's safe.
Good, thank you. Any other questions to Gaynor?
Yeah, I mean, hello, it's Sophie Porter here, Aldershot Park. It's very, very difficult, and very, very difficult to make those decisions. Obviously, I'm looking at the science, I'm looking at the R8, and I'm looking at everything that's being put forward by a school. But what's very, very difficult, and a very difficult decision to make, is a decision to make based on what your child wants to do. I have a child who desperately wants to go back to school, so it's a really, really difficult decision to make, and I think it's a difficult decision to make for any single parent. And having clear guidance from the government, clear guidance from schools is actually vital, and that's very much, I think, what each school needs.
Yeah, I think we should neither condemn or condone those that do or don't send their children to school. I think it's very much a family decision, and one must respect whatever decision anyone makes on that.
Yeah, if I could just say,
absolutely. There's a lot of mental health issues as well that, you know, so some children really need to go back for their own mental health.
Yeah, I would just say I agree totally with what Sophie's saying from the point of view of parents and of staff, actually, who are trying to get the schools ready for opening, because they don't know at the moment. Things have been changing quite frequently on this. And I was reading yesterday that the advice from government to schools has changed 40, I'm not sure if it's 41 or 47 times within the last week. So they're constantly dealing with updates and having to change things around. So yeah, there isn't a standard sensible piece of guidance for parents or for schools.
Thank you, Gaynor. That's a very comprehensive report. I think that always gives me a wry smile is when a government spokesman speaks about schools returning and he wants cooperation, or she wants cooperation, they refer to staff representatives. When they've got an issue, they refer to them as staff unions. And we all know what the hidden agenda there is. So thank you for that. Let's move on then to those ward updates, and we'll start with Aldershot Park.
Hello, good morning. Hello, good morning. It's Sophie Porter from Aldershot Park. Now, one thing I want to really focus on, and what we've had lots of reports on, is littering in Aldershot Park. Now, we've been in contact with the council, who we know currently empty the bins every single day. So by the end of the day, those bins are going to be getting fuller. We know there are lots of bins. We've done a huge bin survey. But what we're asking people, and what the council are asking people, if you do see rubbish, if you do see a full bin, please download the Love Rushmoor app and use that, which all you have to do is it locates you to where you are, take a picture and send that into customer services. And that helps the council to know where obviously the rubbish is. Now, we're really, really lucky to have Aldershot Park, and it's a real shame that it's ruined recently over the last few days by just a few people. So what we want is to ask everybody to just take real pride in our community and pick up your rubbish. If actually the bins look full, put your rubbish in your bag, take it home and put it in your own bin.
Councillor Porter, are there enough bins, for example, in Aldershot Park, or do we need to? Do you need to be lobbying for more bins to go there?
Well, we asked for a bin survey of Aldershot Park. I think there may need to be another bin on the way out of the park, but within the park there are plenty of bins. And if the bin is full, and there are bins around by the play area, there are plenty of bins all the way along at the back of the by the play fields at the back.
Okay, good.
Can I just come in here, Keith?
Yeah, please do, Councillor Brisbane.
This is not just an issue of not enough bins, because the council assures that there is. This is an issue of people just being bloody minded and just leaving their rubbish, and they wouldn't put it in bins even if there's a bin next to them. It's it's just how these people are, I'm afraid.
Okay, yeah, it's I think pride in our community is really important. It's a line that I thought all of our Labour councillors have been doing in their community, and driving litter picks or arranging litter picks and good behaviour. So it is disappointing, but so one hopes this weekend, when our parks will be busy, that residents and their families respect that. Any other issues in Aldershot Park you want to flag up?
No, but last week we talked about we were launching something called Kindness Schools, and as part of Mental Health Awareness Week. So we've had an uptake. We've had a small uptake, but we've still got some calls coming in over the weekend. But it's been really, really positive. We've had what's actually happened is that we've been able to one, take on board some of the issues from some of our residents, but two, people have said it's really positive, and it's that main thing of staying connected. One one conversation I had with one of the residents, it was amazing to see actually what those what the people of our within our ward are doing for the local community. So it's yeah, really, really incredible. There's real incredible people out there, and some of those calls will continue in the future, mainly because of the work those people or those residents are doing within our ward and within the wider community, and also because it's just pleasant just to have a chat with people from the ward, and somebody said it's just nice just to stay connected. So we'll continue with those.
Okay, thank you. Let's move on then to Farnborough and to our colleagues in Cherrywood. What are the key issues there at present? Councillor Halstead, Grattan or Guinness?
Yeah, so I'll sort of kick off. The COVID group in Cherrywood has got a new admin. As I said last week, one of them had to step down due to other commitments, but someone has very generously filled their slot and will be taking on the Bat Phone 1, which is sort of a phone that residents can call if they need anything, and they can note it down and find a volunteer for them. The other thing has been green areas that have been missed on terms of the grass cutting rounds. So I think Chaucer, Austin and Caswell were all missed, and I've been chasing those up at the minute. And I've got a pretty good response from the council, and they seem to be going back and getting those done pretty quickly.
Yes, Keith, I'll come in here. Just to take on what Sophie said on a couple of things. Our parks are getting used a little bit more now, and we've noticed, as Terry has said, that the litter is getting quite large around our local parks, recreation fields. And though we got adequate bins in some of them, we may need to be looking at more for the future when it's open up fully. But I would request that everyone does take their rubbish home. It'd be a lot easier and a lot more pleasant for everyone else. And also, we've still had a fair bit of fly tipping going on, which we're on top of. But if anyone else is around, to download the Rushmoor app and report what they see, and which would be very helpful. Thank you.
Okay, Christine, anything to add?
Yeah, so the only thing I've really got is our local food bank. Sorry, we had gone quieter for the week. Actually, this week has seen an increase again. So they think it's down to where people have been furlonged, and they're getting obviously a lower wage, and those that are waiting for universal tax credits to come through. So it'd be interesting to see, because our COVID-19 group haven't seen an increase. They've just had the repeat orders. But yeah, our local food banks have gone up again this week in a rise.
Okay, thank you. Any questions to our colleagues in Cherrywood? Okay, let's move to Northtown Aldershot. Councillor Austin.
Yes, as last week, it's largely around traffic issues, particularly on North Lane, with Ivy Road, with the Hampshire Waste and Recycling Centre reopening. We've been keeping an eye on that, and it seems that there's still very, very long queues going right back. The way the traffic is being queued, luckily it's not backing up onto North Lane, which is the positive, but it's going the other way and can be 2 hour plus wait. The good news, partial good news, is that with myself and you, Keith, working with our Hampshire County Councillor, have put pressure on for something to be done, and Hampshire have now agreed to extend the opening hours from 4 o'clock until 6 o'clock in the hope that this will spread out some of the visits that way. I would have liked them at some point to have introduced maybe at the beginning an appointment system, which has worked really, really well in other districts, but they haven't. At least we'll see now how the extended opening hours what effect they have, and hopefully that will keep the queues down. The same at the other end of North Lane with the opening of KFC drive-through. We had a meeting with as I think we mentioned last week, with the managing director of KFC for the UK and Ireland, and other interested parties. Things have been put in place. They've ordered some special signs and that will be put up. But at the moment, I actually, living there, I actually think there has been a slight improvement, simply in terms of people turning up. So I think maybe part of the novelty of people coming for their KFC drive-through has worn off slightly. There are still issues, and obviously the thing that we are concerned about is the planned opening of McDonald's drive-through, given the fact that their only way in and way out is via North Close, which is already in use and already extremely busy with KFC. So being proactive, we will be. I've spoken to the area manager for McDonald's, and he, along with the manager of this branch and also the franchisee, are very keen to have a meeting with us, with Hampshire and with KFC management and other local businesses to see what can be done to minimise any traffic disruption and the potential of that junction again to be a bit of an accident hotspot.
Yeah, thank you again, and I think it's great that you've already engaged with McDonald's, and I think you're right to acknowledge the support that we had from County Councillor Withers over the extending hours at Ivy Road Household Waste Recycling Centre, and you and he put in a lot of hours standing there talking to users and to local businesses, and despite the some criticism from Hampshire County Council, we soldiered on lobbying, and it has made a difference. So I think we should acknowledge that. As you said, I had a follow-up call yesterday from the national manager or regional manager of KFC, Simon Jones, who we met at the meeting you described, and he said that sales did peak in that first 2 weeks, and there has been a slight dropping off, still above normal, but and as rightly said, they were very impressed about the meeting they had with local councillors and residents. They didn't get all too often. They turn up at a meeting and just get 30 minutes of screaming and shouting, and I think we took a very positive approach for wanting them to be a good neighbour. And as you rightly say, there are these 5 large waste bins that they've ordered, and it may well be that over the next few days on Here for Northtown, we'll be asking for feedback on where they could be located, and it may be that our colleagues in Aldershot Park might be interested in one of those, because people don't just walk back along North Lane. So I think a very busy week, and it just shows that local campaigning can make a difference. So thank you, Gaynor. Any questions to Gaynor on either of those points? Okay, let's move on to Wellington Moor.
Can you just explain to everyone the new opening times for the recycling areas?
Yes, it was 10 in the morning until 4 in the afternoon. We've now extended that till 6, so it will be 10 till 6 in the evening.
And does that cover all the recycling areas in Hampshire?
I believe it does, yes.
Yeah.
Lovely, thanks a lot.
But it was all down to the lobbying that we did in Ivy Road. Wellington Ward, Councillor Martin.
Yeah. So we have had an increase in fire tipping, mainly on the private roads, so the Love Rushmoor app cannot be used. which is a shame. But I can, if anyone finds any bulk rubbish or fly tipping, they can send pictures to me and I'll forward it on to the relevant people. We've also had Burger King reopen, but there has been no queues. The only thing we've had is rubbish flying out of our windows, which isn't good.
Question, when you mention private roads, what do you mean by that? Are these the military roads or the military estate?
Military and Granger on the Wells estate. That's
of course, yes. Many of those are still unadopted roads.
Yeah.
So for fly tipping then on the road you live in, for example, not that you, of course, would do the fly tipping. So how would a resident report that?
They can ring Amy, or they can go through me and I'll email them. But most of it do you know where the dog walkers go? Up towards Caesar's Camp and in behind the canal and up past the Wellington statue. That's where most of the rubbish seems to be dumped at the minute.
Okay. And Amy, they're the contractor, are they? The MOD's contractor?
Yes, they are, yeah.
Yeah, good. Any questions there or comments on Wellington Ward?
Hello, it's Sophie from Aldershot Park Ward. I don't know if this is true, but somebody was saying Burger King is doing really well because they've opened 2 lanes and they've directed all of the traffic through the car park.
Yeah,
I'm not.
No traffic at all, which is good. I thought people just preferred KFC, to be honest.
Well, we're not, and there are many other brands available, I'm sure. So there we are.
Well,
anything on the town centre? Anything on the town centre? It's still pretty much in lockdown, isn't it?
Oh, the town centre. So there's distancing difficulties in Wellington Street with the queues for NatWest and Lidl. There's also been an increase in antisocial behaviour since the lockdown, despite the lockdown. And yeah, just the Union Street development, people are a bit concerned about the viability of the development because the first part of the site has been demolished, but there has been no planning application for the 600 flat development of the gallery site yet, which isn't. People want to know what's going on. Yeah,
I think lots of expectations have been risen, but at the moment, very little delivery. Okay, any further questions to Councillor Martin?
Hi, Keith. I have a question about Northtown.
Yes.
Is it true that the P&R Cafe is opening soon?
It is opening on Wednesday for takeaways, 9 till 2. It's very welcome. And good news.
Great.
And on Facebook last night, everyone seemed to be taking the credit for it reopening, which was mildly amusing. But I hope to go in on Wednesday and have get a cup of coffee, and if there aren't too many witnesses, maybe a bacon baguette. But it's good that those services are opening, and I think we should all just use this as an opportunity to thank all of those retail outlets in our neighbourhood shopping areas that have actually done an incredible service supporting those communities, whether it be in Aldershot Park, whether it be in Cherrywood, whether it be in Wellington or Northtown and every other community. But those small traders have done really well. And certainly in Northtown, Gaynor and myself have kept a dialogue going with Star Off Licence, with the Co-op and One Stop and Melita stores, and all of them have seen an increase in trade and have been a vital link with those communities. And when we ever get back to what is the new norm, we must remember that those corner shops, as they've traditionally known, are really pillars of those local communities. So, but yeah, P&R is opening this week. Good news.
Fantastic, thank you.
COVID update. Every week we give an update on how the superb voluntary organisations are doing and how to contact them. So, Councillor Guinness first.
So yeah, in Farnborough, it's remained the same amount of phone calls, but what they are finding is they're finding a lot of emerging gaps now coming through. They're saying the complexity of the calls are becoming harder. They're having to find other ways to help people. They've seen an increase in calls, things like people are confused on whether they can have a handyman or grass cutting service. But their main emerging gaps they're finding are their befriending service of telephone calls for chats, and anger management for young people. So those two main areas they're looking quite intensely at the moment, and they're realizing that actually there was a huge gap before this happened. You know, people that not because they're self-isolating, but people are lonely and have no one to talk to. So they're actually looking at introducing permanently and getting running so that they can have these phone calls and advertise phone numbers for people just to sit on the phone and chat to, and they're phoning them back weekly for like hour slots, checking on them, how they are. And again, the young people, the anger management, although a lot of it is built up because they're self-isolating and they're struggling with being at home and not having an outlet. But they're saying actually these were all issues beforehand. So that they're again looking at running them long term and being able to help people and keep it running permanently after this, because they're saying that, you know, these issues were already there, they just weren't aware of it.
Okay, any questions or comments there to Christine? Gaynor, the Arc in Aldershot, is that still as busy as ever?
Yes, Arc, and I'd agree with Christine. What she said, that we're finding a lot of those issues were already there. There are a lot of people out there who haven't necessarily known who to turn to for support, and these issues are still going to be there after lockdown ends. So again, Arc, I think, is looking at a way to maybe change and adapt, but to carry on, to be able to be there to support people in the community. So yes, you can contact ARC with any queries or any requests for help, and either they can help directly with our lovely group of volunteers, or certainly point people in the right direction, or refer people to all the other appropriate help or services that are out there. So you can join the Facebook group, which is ARC Aldershot Response to Coronavirus. So if you type in a.r.c, that should take you to our ARC group. You can call, and the number is 01252 214 022. The lines are manned 10 till 2 each Monday to Friday. Outside of those times, you can leave a message, and that will be picked up as soon as we can. It will also come through as an email, so that we have the details and somebody will call you back.
Excellent, thank you. One announcement that came out of actually from 10 Downing Street this week was that there's an opportunity for all of us to nominate those heroes that emerged during the COVID-19 pandemic, and certainly in Aldershot and Farnborough, I think we're all aware of people that have been outstanding in a voluntary capacity. Would anyone like just to brief on? I think there's an online nomination process. I think Councillor Porter, you were keen on nominating someone. Obviously, we don't want to mention that online, but I think there's a relatively straightforward process. Is that right?
Sorry, I was just taking myself off mute. Yeah, it's a really, really easy process. I'm just trying to find you the link of how you can nominate people. Just bear with me one moment. There's a link. If you go to www.gov.uk government/publications/COVID-19 honours nominate form, and there you can nominate anybody who is their contributions during the COVID crisis has been frontline work, supporting the most vulnerable members of society and those who have caught coronavirus, providing critical care to coronavirus patients, developing innovations to support the vulnerable and those with coronavirus, going to extraordinary lengths to keep critical services going, and volunteering in the community for service organisations in support of those affected by coronavirus. And I think from a personal note, knowing how busy the ARC has been in our ward of Aldershot Park ward, it's been incredible, and it's really helped people, especially picking up medications, delivering food, but also putting in a long-term plan. So it's not just for those emergencies. They've also been able to put in long-term plans. And the Vine Centre, Cook in Farnham, there's been a lot of organisations that have been then delivering food for the prolonged period of time of this. So they've been fantastic.
That's great. Thank you, Sophie. And we'll post that link on our various Facebook pages. Just give you an example. About 8 or 9 years ago, Northtown priest Father Keith Hodges and I attended a Christmas lunch arranged by the then Friends of Northtown, and the couple running it, Mr. and Mrs. De Bono, who've been doing it for many years, were getting near to retirement, and we thought, well, why don't we nominate Mrs. De Bono for an award? And we did some investigation and found the online reporting system. We followed it through. Both of us did sort of an endorsement, and then 2 years later, in the New Year's Honours list, she was awarded a BEM. So it shows that it does work. You don't hear any more. You don't know whether it's gone, who it's gone to, or where it's gone. But then it was announced in the New Year's Honours, and she was thrilled, and so that process does work. And it's much better to see those awards going to that volunteer rather than those that may make large donations to political parties. So that's really good news. If we could get 1 or 2 people from Aldershot and Farnborough nominated and awarded honours, I think that'll be amazing. Thank you. Sport is one of those things that's taken a real hit during the COVID-19 pandemic, and of course it's hit sports clubs locally as well as nationally. And Councillor Terry Bridgman has just given us an update on some of the difficulties that Aldershot Football Club have been facing or are facing, and what we're doing to work with them. Terry.
Okay, thank you, Keith. What I'm going to say, we've got this down as an item for Aldershot Football Club, but of course it affects more than just Aldershot. We've got quite a few professional and semi-professional clubs. We have Farnborough, we have Cove, for instance. The problem with football is that it's rather top-heavy, in that we have a Premier League and a Championship who attract most of the sponsorship, most of the supporters, and more importantly, most of the television money. And most of those clubs in those leagues can survive without anybody coming to watch them, which explains why a club like Bournemouth, who only have a capacity of 12,000, can compete in the same league as Manchester United, who have a capacity of 76,000. Lower down, of course, it's the opposite. Clubs at Aldershot level absolutely rely on people coming through the turnstiles. All right, there is a certain amount of sponsorship and ground naming rights, but that is minuscule compared to the big boys. And it's also rather critical for Aldershot and Farnborough and Cove that if they don't get people coming through the gate, they don't get any money and they're in problems. Aldershot have already indicated or suggested that they might have to fold again, That would be the third time we've lost our local football club because of the situation. Now, Alex Crawford and I will be talking to the chairman, Asif, the chairman of Aldershot Football Club next week, and hopefully we'll be able to give you an update next week. One thing to bear in mind with Aldershot Football Club is that Rushmoor Borough Council own that ground. So, and whatever happens, Rushmoor Borough Council will still own that ground. But who will be using it going forward is another matter. But it is serious. It affects, I mean, you know, we've seen it affects all sorts of businesses. Only yesterday we got the news that a big company like Shearings is going out of business, and Hertz Rent-A-Car are having problems. So, you know, it's a nationwide thing, and it's not just confined to any one particular area, but it is certainly a big problem for small clubs like Aldershot, and I'm afraid that some of them will not survive.
Thank you, Terry, and of course, linking up to what one or two were saying earlier on. I mean, sport plays a really important part in people's lives, and it gives them great emotion. And I'm sure that one or two, you know, some people that have mental health issues, sport plays a really important part in their lives, and I think they will be suffering as a result of the lack of sport. But any questions there to Terry? And I think on Aldershot Town or sports clubs in general. No, okay, thanks. But you'll update us
Sorry,
next week.
Keith, I have a question on that.
Yeah.
It sounded pretty dire, Terry. Is there anything that we can do as a community to help, or is it just in the hands of whoever?
I have seen a suggestion, Hash, that there ought to be some community involvement in fundraising or whatever. Two problems. First of all, it would have to be a massive fundraising effort to raise the sort of money they need. And secondly, there will be a lot of organisations after this is all over looking for fundraising from the local communities. Yeah. And it will then be a question of what sort of priority do you give it? Now, Keith's right, sport is absolutely central, not just watching it, but playing in it as well. But is it high enough for people to think, yeah, we'll save the football club at the expense of something else? That's the big problem. And going back, I have a friend in America who keeps quoting this thing that Bill Shankly came out with years ago. Is football a matter of life and death? No, it's more important than that. No, it's not. It's football. It's a sport. Nothing is more important than life or death. Yeah. And that's why football won't be given the priority that some people in the football community would like.
Yeah, fair enough.
Fair comment. I mean, I think once you've had the meeting with the chair, who is a quite an impressive guy, I think we'll be in a better position to understand, really, won't we? But the thought of Aldershot losing the town losing its football club a second time would be devastating. But as you say, no more devastating than the loss of someone's family business. And you'll keep us updated next week. So thank you, Terry. Potholes as local councillors. Oh, sorry, Councillor Grattan.
Thank you, Keith. Yeah, just a thought. I know it probably won't happen, but it'd be good if the Football Association, in cooperation with the Premier Championship League, could pass some of their millions of pounds down to some of the smaller clubs to help them get through this crisis.
Yeah, can I just say on that, the model we've got is not good, and it's all very well appealing to the FA, but you have to remember that the Premier League is not members of the FA. The Football Association is a football association, and it covers everything. The Premier League is sort of a law unto itself, but there are better examples of how to run football in Spain, for instance, and I think probably Italy, where big clubs have smaller clubs. They're parents to smaller clubs. They're part of the same family, and so they do help out. And it's something worth looking at. But you have to remember that football is on a structure which goes very deep. You watch those people playing football on a Sunday afternoon in your local park, and they are probably, I don't know, about on the 16th tier of a massive pyramid. It's a big, it's our most favourite sport. Apparently, fishing is the one that we're more participating in, but yeah, it's big, and it's a big problem to solve. And as I said, not at the top, certainly not the bottom where it's just pure amateurs, but somewhere in the middle, there is going to be problems, and we really could do with looking at this idea of big clubs adopting smaller clubs.
I think it's a good idea, and it was something that supporters used to oppose, didn't they? Because they'd always dream of their club being drawn against Manchester United. But of course, if you're a subsidiary of that, you can't play each other. But
no, Keith, it didn't work like that, because in Spain, you actually had a Spanish Cup final, or it might be the semi-final, where Real Madrid had to play their own nursery side.
Yeah.
So they didn't put that restriction on them.
But I know in going back about 40 years, you remember this, when Portsmouth took over Waterlooville, and Waterlooville had to withdraw from the FA Cup, and but that's the men in grey suits making those decisions, and I hope they'll be more enlightened now.
Yeah.
Thank you for that. And Terry and I were both season ticket holders of largest clubs. Have been missing it like anything. Going on to the next point. As councillors, potholes. We all get potholes raised every day by residents, and we as local councillors get an ear bashing. But in fact, it's not a Rushmoor responsibility; it's a Hampshire County Council responsibility. And Gaynor and I, for one, know that North Town is littered with potholes, and we raised on our Facebook page, or at the beginning of the pandemic, when the lockdown happened, that this was an ideal time for the county council to fill the potholes when the roads were less busy and less congested. Sadly, all those potholes with white rings drawn around them are still there, and so it's important that we continue to put pressure on to have these potholes dealt with. And rest assured, as soon as we get back to normal and the roads are congested, along will come the temporary traffic lights and the road closures, and the potholes will be repaired. But people actually aren't aware of how to report a pothole, and Hampshire County Council have a very easy and user-friendly way of reporting potholes. You go onto their website, you follow transport, and you can a very user-friendly process where you can mark it on a map, and you report the size of the pothole and the damage it's causing, and immediately you get a reference number, and you can use that reference number to go online and track the repair, and you can put comments like 4 weeks now and nothing's happened, or whatever. Of course, you can come to us as ward councillors, and we will report the potholes, because not everyone is comfortable using online reporting. And we will post that link onto the appropriate web pages. But many of the potholes are caused by third-party companies, utilities companies, and communication companies. So if a pothole gets reported, it goes to Hampshire, and then they check it, and then they send it on to Virgin Media or Southeast Water or SSE or SNG, and then it gets into their system, and this seems to take even longer. And anyone who's driven down North Lane in the last 6 months will know that there is a very large sunken manhole cover near to the junction with Canning Road. And Gaynor and I have reported this. We originally reported it to Hampshire County Council, and then every week for the past probably 12 or 14 weeks, we've chased Thames Water on it. And every week we get a response saying they're planning a repair. They're planning a repair. And about after 8 weeks, someone came along and painted TW over the sunken manhole cover to give us a subtle clue that it was now Thames Water were dealing with it. Then about a month ago, a yellow cross was painted on top of the TW, which raised expectations that action was going to be taken. But sadly, it's still outstanding. And what you get is residents calling us fools and stupid and such things, and the council rubbish for not repairing it, when in fact it's not the council's responsibility. But I believe, and I think we all believe, that Hampshire should be more proactive in chasing for repair. So that's really just sort of an overview or a background of how potholes, which are a plague in every road, and I'm sure Hampshire is better or no worse than anywhere else, but there is a process for using and reporting, and we'll post that online. And but if you want to escalate, please come to a ward councillor. So any comments or questions there?
Yes, Keith.
Yeah.
I just wanted to a couple of comments, and in fact, yes, we do have issues in North Town, but it is certainly at least an Aldershot wide problem.
Yeah.
I found that Manor Park is currently one of the worst for potholes. So yes, it is across, certainly across Aldershot, probably across the borough. And also, yes, some of they have actually been doing some work during the lockdown, because I've noticed some of the potholes on this end of the McDonald's end of North Lane were filled in, as was one on my road. Not a great job, so I don't know if it's a temporary fix or if it's meant to be permanent, but it has actually been done. So they are doing some work, and just it is amazing how many times I can forget that the Canning Road pothole is there and drive straight into it.
Every time I go along North Lane.
I know it's there.
Yeah. Good, thank you. And again, as Gaynor said, you could say this for every ward in the borough. But there we are. Okay, moving on. Thank you for that. Stagecoach.
Keith, can I mention potholes in Wellington Ward?
Oh, yes, please.
So Hampshire County Council is not responsible for most of the potholes in Wellington Ward, because it's the Army that are responsible for them. And during the lockdown, they've been filling all the potholes on the Army estate, which is great. But yeah, I get a lot of requests for potholes as well, to be filled. And that's happened now. In most of them have been filled, all of them, in fact, that I've come across.
That's true.
There's on Hampshire County Council website, you can actually go in and see which road belongs to Hampshire. So then you can report a pothole online. The private road, you just have to find out who owns that road.
Yeah, it just says not our responsibility, doesn't it?
Not.
Christine.
Yeah, a bit of a laugh of the week, really. I'd like Hampshire to consider some joined up thinking. The southbound on the 325 towards Bradford's roundabout, they've fantastically repainted all the lines and signage on the roads this week and done it over the potholes.
No comment. So one of the major users of our roads and those potholes are Stagecoach. And Councillor Ashley Halstead's given us an update on Stagecoach. And I know Ashley is very keen on things running to timetable. So are our buses running to timetable, Councillor Halstead?
So the timetables have changed slightly. So in terms of sort of Cherrywood, where we sort of rely on a yo-yo bus quite a bit, that's gone to half an hour. And they're changing it from a single decker bus to a double decker. Because of that, they're having to change the route as well. So all the bus stops along Elm Grove Road, Union Street, West Heath Road, they're not going to be served anymore. So you're going to have to go to different bus stops to obviously use that service. The reason why they're doing this is because the bridge over Prospect Road is too low to take any of us, to take a double decker. so they're having to do it via the West Heath roundabout. And they're also encouraging card payments or online payments, as they won't be giving any change anymore on Stagecoach buses.
Yeah, do you know why they've done it so late?
I'm not sure, but they literally announced the diversionary route on the 19th of May, that it was going to be changed on the 20th of May. So they didn't really give us much of a time to alert anyone.
And they're not taking cash anymore. Again, why now?
I'm not entirely. I think they're probably concerned.
I mean, it's almost like
it.
it's like the Priti Patel view of incoming visitors, isn't it? But I'm not expecting you to answer. I'm not expecting you to answer. But
don't get me started.
Yeah. But buses play an increasing, an ever important role in our community, aren't they? And we're really lucky that I think the wards we represent have buses that don't require a subsidy, so that they will continue to run.
Could I just ask a question, please?
Yes.
With regards to buses, you know, if you need to have these cards or whatever instead of cash, is it an easy process for people who haven't got a computer to get one of these cards?
So you can actually do a contactless card payment from your sort of debit or credit card on sort of the number 1 bus, which I know is the most used one. In terms of an online payment, you would have to go onto the website, which obviously I understand some people aren't the most proficient in. But we can certainly sort of try and raise it and see if there's a way to do it another way. But you can do card payments from debit card.
So is there nothing like an Oyster cards, for instance, that they have in London?
So I'm personally not aware of it because I usually do the online payments. However, there might be something that they could look into. I'll certainly look into that and see if there's anything.
I think actually, if you look into that, and then we'll just come back with because I think, you know, ideally it would be just good to have just a travel card, wouldn't it? You could use on buses, trains, or whatever. I mean, I think that would be easier.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Good question.
Sorry, Keith, can I just ask? It was my understanding that the buses were still taking correct money.
Yes.
Is that not the case?
Yes, they do take correct money, but they won't be given any change. So if it's it's £4.50 and you give them a £5 note, they won't give you the 50p back.
Yeah.
So a bit like a Rushmoor car park machine.
Not just cards. Yeah.
Yeah, a bit like a Rushmoor car parking machine that steals the money. Some would say, not myself, of course. But good. Thank you, Ashley. That's really important.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sorry about in there. They have stated on that any additional sums over and above the initial fare will be donated to a local charity or such like.
So take back what I said then, Clive. That's really good. Thank you. And in fairness, I think we as ward councillors, certainly North End, have a great working relationship with Stagecoach, and so whilst I might be slightly pulling their leg, I think they do provide for us actually a very good service, and are always open-minded to change and residents' comments and bus users' comments. Good. Thank you for that, Councillor Halstead. Then we come to the high point of our weekly surgery, which is the free online entertainment. And to lead that entertainment, we invite Halle to join us, who keeps a watching brief on all entertainment that's out there. So again, Halle, welcome. And this week, we're not squeezing you in right at the end of the meeting, and you've got a little bit of time to update us on what's available this bank holiday weekend.
Fantastic. Thank you very much. And good morning, everybody. Hopefully you had a fantastic week. Let's start with what's happening in the theatre world, theatre at home. This week, National Theatre, they are streaming the show called A Street Car Named Desire, starring Gillian Anderson. It's created a lot of excitement about this one. Again, you have to go to the YouTube channel and have a look at that one. Started streaming last Thursday and it will last for another week. Sadly, there is no musical from Andrew Lloyd Webber YouTube channel this week, but Globe Player, you can actually still watch Shakespeare plays performed at the Globe for free. You have to go to the globeplayer.tv. They show things like A Winter Tales and Midsummer Night's Dreams. The vast library of shows that you can actually pay a nominal amount of money to watch. So if you're interested in King Lear or other Shakespeare's play, you can watch it, but you have to pay for those. For something different, Australian and New Zealand actors, including Mark Little, Kerry Fox, Daniel Monks, they got together and relived a play called, sorry, I just get that sorted, The One Day of the Year. And it is available on YouTube until 31st of May, so you just have to go and search for it. Okay, something I wanted to talk about is the Culture on Call. It's a digital publication which brings culture and community together. It has been during the coronavirus crisis. Since launching in April, they had received about 19,000 page views, and it's quite interesting. They invite people to submit unique experience of their crisis. There are actually a range of educational activities for families. So if you want to look at what to do as a family, there's quite a lot of things over there. They've got exhibition of the historic photograph showcasing the Ferrum area or people's sort of local youth clubs. There's quite a lot happening. So have a look at that, and it might be something interesting for you. Chelsea Flower Show, you probably know that. They started and it's gone online this year. They started streaming from 18th to sort of 23rd of May. So today is the last day, but they're hosting a bunch of free events. So things like joining the interviews with famous florists. You can log into their Zoom tour on the designers' gardens. You can pick up some really serious gardening tips and, you know, get some inspiration for your own floral creation. You have to go to their website www.rh.org.uk, and they've got show events, and RHS Chelsea Flower Show is on that one. So have a look at it, and I'm sure there will be something interesting to look into. On the drawing side, you can learn to draw with Nick Elwood, and you can put pen to paper and swap your doodles with really guided sketch lessons. Nick will guide you through the task and, you know, drawing things like, fun things like maybe superhero or even a sleeping lion. And you can actually tag your drawing, and you can share it on social media. It's on https://ornc.org, and then learn to draw with Nick Elwood if you're interested in drawing. Locally, a lot is happening. You can go to the Princess Hall website, and there are 5 great games and puzzle sheets with characters. I think this time is Cinderella pantomime. They are free. You can download them, and play those games with your children or as a family. It would be really fantastic there. Last but not least, today is the Elmer Day, the Elephant Day. And there's quite a lot of arts and crafts happening. If you go to the Aldershot Library website, you can actually access those. If your child is a fan of the Elmer, then you can sort of go to the www.elmer.co.uk, and you can, there's some elephant parade bunting. There are lots of, super colorful and fun activities for your children to do. I think that's all from me this week. So have a fantastic, lovely week.
Thank you very much, Helen. A very comprehensive overview of what's on offer this weekend and this week. We're coming to an end of our production, because we see this as a production to entertain and inform. But a couple of things to pick up on before we finish. The Vine, which is we've not yet mentioned, but I think Councillor Nadia Martin just wants to give us an update on that.
Yeah, thanks, Keith. So normally Alex would do this, but he can't be here today, so I'm just going to quickly run over what they've been doing this week. So they've delivered 157 support calls, 46 intensive support calls of at least 1 hour. 45 lunches to NHS staff at the Aldershot Centre for Health, 251 home-cooked meals, 26 family food parcels, 122 care packages, 7 art material packages and 12 pet food packages have been delivered. They still need £483 to reach their target of £2,500. And there is a Just Given site for that, which we can post later. And they're also looking for volunteers and donations of food and essentials. And the number to call is 01252 400 196, or email info@thevinecentre.org.uk. And in the 8 weeks, they have supported over or been in touch with 5,000 people, which is a huge amount of people.
Yeah, it's amazing, the jigsaw puzzle really of pieces that get together from ARC, COVID-19, Farnborough and the Vine, really, the volunteers that fill this huge safety net that the welfare state can't provide. So that's great. And those numbers will be posted on our various websites. 2 or 3 things before we come to a close. Quite rightly, I think someone's commented that the potholes may be a problem for car drivers, but if you're on a motorcycle or a bicycle, they're incredibly dangerous. And I think if you're driving and you often see motorcyclists or cyclists having to swerve to miss potholes, which, apart from the risk of the potholes, makes travelling for those people very, very, very a high risk indeed. So I think it's really important that we continue to report potholes and continue to lobby for them to be done. Finally, Rushmoor Council goes back into full swing for the municipal year this week, and rather than having to go to the public gallery to watch meetings, members of the public who have an interest can now follow them online. And I think all meetings will, being held online, but also can be followed online. So on Tuesday, it's the annual council, the mayor making ceremony, which is usually a very traditional sort of a lot of pomp and circumstance there. And but this year it will be online, so that will be interesting to see, where you'll see the new mayor nominated and appointment confirmed. On Wednesday, online will be the Development Management Committee, which is the planning committee. And again, we welcome residents' feedback on any planning applications. And certainly in Aldershot, for Aldershot this week, there is, I think, a controversial planning application for Mount Pleasant Road, which again would be interested in residents' feedback. I don't know, Clive, if you want to add, there's 1 or 2 from Farnborough as well, I think, aren't there?
Clive's not allowed to comment on anything planning because he's on.
Well, I'm not allowed to comment. We're not allowed to say for or against. It's just the locations. That,
right.
Yeah. Actually, I've got the
Thank you
agenda
for
in
that,
front of me. I too am a member, so I can't.
Right.
Yes, it's Mount Pleasant. It's Kingsmoat Car Park, Woodcock Court, and Whites Road, which are all for discussion and decision, Clive, aren't they? But all those applications are online if anyone wants them, to see them or comment. And on Thursday, it's the very snappy Licensing, Audit and General Purposes Committee, which mean, again, it's available. And this week's meeting is quite interesting because it's the appointment of Rushmoor representatives, councillors to outside bodies such as the British Legion, the West End Centre and other things. And it's really important that the council send the right people, the most competent person to those, rather than just the political label they wear. Okay, so that's just to, and all those meetings, the details are available on the Rushmoor Borough Council website. That really brings today's online surgery to a close. I'd like to thank all my colleagues, members of the Rushmoor Labour Group, for their contribution. The ever-increasing number of questions we've had from members of the public before and during the meeting, and Hallo for the entertainment update, and Tahash, our 5-star director producer. So thank you all very much indeed, and we'll be online again 9:30 next Saturday. Thank you very much indeed.
Thank you, everyone. Bye-bye.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you. Have a good weekend. Enjoy the
Bye-bye.
sunshine.
Yep.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.